первую очередь мы хотим выразить огромную благодарность за помощь и поддержку конференции нашему платиновому спонсору нашей конференции, компании SEO Market, поставщику счастья в Украине, компания Delta Bank, золотым спонсором конференции, компания Allegro Group, компания Promoda, компания Upsale, компания Credit Market, компания Bazilla. Также трафиковому спонсору SEO Studio и бронзовому спонсору конференции компании Binatel. Также логистическому спонсору компании Mist Express, спонсорам Platon, Retail Rocket и Floctory и генеральному интернет-партнеру конференции компании Hotline. А сейчас представители проекта «Доставляя счастье Запас», Шерин Алтабджи, лидер проекта, и Хавьер Мунас, тренер и алхимик счастья, проведут Happy Work Session, мастер-класс по обслуживанию клиентов.
How are you today? We'll just test this out. My name is Shireen El-Tabgi, and I'm here with Delivering Happiness. Who's familiar with the company Delivering Happiness? Oh, excellent. We've got a few people. Great. Well, we are actually a sister company of Zappos. We were created by Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos, after he wrote the book Delivering Happiness. How many people here have read Tony Hsieh's book? Excellent. Great, and it's available in Russian if you haven't read it. So before we actually start the presentation, in America we say a picture is worth 1,000 words. This is what we'll be talking about today.
We're so glad you're here today. You may wonder what we do. Sit back, relax, and we'll tell you. We started up in '99, then grew larger over time. And to please and hope to be the best you'll ever find. We're Zappos family. Fun and weird, 'cause after all, we love spreading cheer. Customer service is what we do. Come check us out, we're more than just shoes. Clothing, housewares, handbags, beauty. You've been searching, no avail. Results have been an epic fail. It's alright. We've got your back, we'll put you right on track. So make your choices and have no fear. Just try them out, you have a whole year. Call in or email and live chat too. There's always somebody here for you. You is the Z to the A double POS. We put a smile on your face with a box on your doorstep. You deserve the best.
That's Tony Hsieh in the back.
Can you feel the energy? Throw your hands up if you really feel the me. Reach up for the ceiling if you feel like a celebrity. It's gotta be insanity. We've been dropping rapidly. Overnight smiles in stock till infinity. We're Zappos family. We only say, give us your worries, we'll zap them away.
So that's a quick introduction to Zappos. And people ask us all the time, is that really what the company culture there is like? That is the company culture at Zappos, especially in the CLT group. And CLT is the Customer Loyalty Team, which is the topic that we're here to talk about today. How to create amazing customer service, how to create incredible customer loyalty, how to grow your business through your culture, and how core values and happiness create success. So Tony's model that he used was based on the following: that happy employees will create happy customers, and that happy customers will yield successful business results and create successful growth. And we will be sharing more about that today. For those of you in the audience who do speak English, I'm sorry if my pace is a little slow, but we do want to leave space in my conversation for the translation. In addition to a picture making 1,000 words, we also wanted to show you a live proof of the customer loyalty team. Many people, including several organizations that we brought over from Russia to the United States, have come to do workshops with us on the following models, and they've gone to Zappos. And even after going to see Zappos, they were quite astonished at the freedom and the empowerment that the CLT members have in making decisions and in treating their customers with happiness to create wow customer service or exceptional customer loyalty. So Javier, let's go to Zappos. So Javier has put in a question to the live chat. They're doing it on the computer right now live. And he's asking, hi, I would like to know how the weather is in Kiev. We just got here and we don't know how to find out. It's not a question about shoes and it's not a question about products. So let's click the chat button, send it off. It will take a little bit of time. We'll play it in the background and we'll keep our conversation going. So basically, this is Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos, and he wrote a book called Delivering Happiness, The Path to Profits, Passion, and Purpose. The company was built on this model of creating a strong foundation of culture based on core values, adding happiness frameworks, and having a higher purpose. We'll try that one more time. So, the background is running, so we'll have to wait for that. Let me share with you a story that exemplifies the customer loyalty team. I have a neighbor who called to order some shoes. And this was before I joined Delivering Happiness and Zappos. And she had just gotten a divorce and she had just had surgery. Well, the person on the phone was asking them questions and asking her how her day was and what she was doing. And they're very, very friendly. So she established a personal, emotional connection with my neighbor. And she ended up sending her flowers, which was a big surprise for my neighbor. So they're empowered to make choices and decisions with the customers at every opportunity possible. So many people ask us, can you really make money off of a business that's based on core values, culture, and happiness, focused on a higher purpose? Well, this is the trajectory for Zappos. They grew from 0 to $2 billion in 11 years. 75% of this business comes from repeat customers. This is the basic model. Values at Zappos and for Tony Hsieh are the foundation of creating the actions and the behaviors and the decision making for the organization. The science of happiness and positive psychology in the last 10 to 15 years has shown us that adding happiness frameworks into an organization creates tremendous growth. And finally, higher purpose gives people a meaning beyond metrics. Money is important. The company has to be profitable. Employees have to make money. But people are searching for more than that. They're looking for meaning as well. The science of happiness, which we'll talk about later today as well, focuses on 3 key areas. So if you're a manager or a company owner or a CEO, these 3 pieces are very important. Number 1 is connectedness, creating deeper, more meaningful relationships in the organization adds to people's energy, focus, creativity, and innovation. Number 2, sense of progress. People are looking for a continued picture or a sense of progress on how they're doing. So, consistent and constant communication is important, and having reviews on a more regular basis. So they do not do annual reviews at Zappos and at many other companies on the best places to work list. They do annual reviews on a monthly or quarterly basis. So metrics are important. The last piece is sense of control. And this is about increasing people's sphere of control and decision making time after time, month after month, year after year, because that creates empowerment and trust. And at best places to work, like Zappos, they prefer to extend the trust first. So, Javier, are we back? Let's check and see what the Zappos chat line has to say for us. Great. The other model that Tony and Zappos uses, and these are the delivering happiness models, is the following. So the first one we saw was what makes happy work. So that was values, happiness frameworks, higher purpose. The who makes happiness work? Who makes a CLT team strong? What makes a company a great customer service brand? Well, first it starts with the individual. The individual's personal values being in alignment with the company core values. The second is the team. The team, the happy we, the company. So we have individual awareness connected with the team. Everybody has their awareness of themselves, their personal values, what makes them happy. The team understands how they align with each other and how they align with the organization's values, mission, vision, commitment to customer service. And then the impact extends to the customer. We call these the happy me, happy we, and happy community. And that extends out to your customers, your partners, your vendors. When this aligns, as it did and does at Zappos, Southwest Airlines, and many other companies, your culture becomes your brand. And you become very well known for not just what you do, but for who you are as a company. So the rest of our talk today is focused on the foundation. The foundation of this model is what Tony used to create their now famous WOW customer service team, and that is core values. So there's quite a few words on this slide, and please know that you can receive a copy of this slide. All you have to do is ask. So why create core values? So again, number one, people who are empowered and self-managed tend to make the right decisions. So this is about right people making the right decisions, so that not all decisions have to go up to a manager. So this is really about empowerment and trust. Number two, values make the decisions. What this means is that business decisions are made from the context of the values. That outlives any management style, any economic trend, any impact in the business world today. Those factor in. But when you make decisions from the values, they are more consistent, stable, and sustainable. Number three, values create the experience you want. This is why we're here today, because Zappos has this amazing WOW customer service. That is an experience. People come back time and time again to a store or to a business for the experience, for how you make your customers feel. And values will outlive goals and trends. This is how companies go from good to great. This is how a legacy is created. And values are at play whether we realize it or not. So why not focus on core values when in fact they are at play every day? And an important point about this for managers and leaders is that your values and the way you align with the company's mission, vision, and values has a tremendous impact on the entire CLT team and on all your employees. You have what we call a large emotional wake. So thank you. Javier thanked her, and Lilia came back and said, you are very welcome, warm wishes, because she knows it's colder here than it is in Las Vegas, from Las Vegas, Nevada. You'll notice here that she did not upsell, meaning she did not try to sell him anything. Her focus on the chat, on the call, was to deliver happiness. This is an important point because when Zappos first started, their focus was to deliver the best customer service, was to create wow customer service. And then their higher purpose expanded to delivering happiness. And that's why you hear the stories of Tony Hsieh, the CEO himself, calling into CLT and saying, I am Joe from the Midwest and I'd like to order a pizza. Because he tests his people to see, are they really aligned with the core values? Do they understand that customer experience and customer loyalty is about loving the fact that you are in service? All right, thanks, Javier. That's fantastic. So for those of you who will receive or ask for a copy, these are the 10 steps that Zappos uses, and many other companies as well, to create core values. We're not going to go through this, but we're offering this to you so you can take it back to your companies and to your teams if it's something that's of interest to you. Real quick, we'll go over just briefly. It's all about, the first step is all about commitment. Is the company willing to commit to core values? This was a big step for Tony, and we'll talk more this afternoon about the story of how he used to be in the software industry and when he started Zappos and why values became so important to him. The second most important thing for Tony is understanding your personal values, who you are as a person, because he truly believes that in order for his people to offer the best customer service, they also have to be true to themselves and understand who they are and work with their managers to align their true self with the company's mission and values. Again, these are additional pictures. Test your commitment. Get entire feedback. Blend everyone's values together. Spread the values to the entire company through actions and behaviors. And use your core values to strengthen your company and to create your brand. So how many people here have core values at their company? I've got a few people. That's great. How many of you might be interested in taking this idea back to your company of creating core values? We've got a few hands up. Okay, great. So I won't read all of them, but for those of you who are interested, definitely make sure you get a copy of this presentation. You have all of the lovely ladies from OWOX here, Irina, Maria, Olga. They can help you with that. The important thing to look at is their number one core value is deliver wow through service. And this is internally as well as externally. Another important one, create fun and a little weirdness. That's why you saw in the video that their attitude is all about fun. Your core values can be very different. What we're talking about today is not about having the same core values as Zappos, but it's about discovering your own company core values and creating behaviors and actions throughout the organization that align with these. As I said, Javier and I are with Delivering Happiness, the group that goes out and talks about the models and works with companies to create strong cultures. These are our core values. Our number one value is be true to your own weird self. This is the bottom line, as we say in America. If you get the culture right, then everything else will fall into place. So for those of you that have, how many people have received their booklet? If you don't have one, please come up and get one from the front. Pass them around. Maybe you can pass them around. Thank you. This is the very first exercise that Tony Hsieh has every employee that comes in through training do. And this is also the exercise that we teach at every workshop that we go and lead organizations through. It's called the personal values exercise because we believe that in order for a company to be great and to offer its best, that the people need to know who they are and what their top priorities are. So what we're going to do is we're going to have everyone do this exercise real quick. And if you don't get through all of it, you can take it home and complete it. And the idea here is to see how you're aligning your life and your work. On the first page, you'll see a list of values, personal values. You'll go down that list and you'll check what's most important to you. If it's very important, somewhat important, or not important at all. Olga has more personal value exercises if you want to bring some up here. Once you've selected your 10, and this is the part that might take some time, you will compare. You will compare the value you have in spot number 1 to the value you have in spot number 2. And you'll go through row by row, comparing one value to the other and circling the number that you selected. And you'll complete this entire grid. You'll go through it row by row, comparing value number 1 to number 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, etc. It is an amazing discovery into how we spend our time, what's important to us, how we align ourselves with work.
Мы посмотрели первых 3 критерия наших ценностей, и между этих 2 критериев, первое и второе, мы выбираем самое ценное и ставим сюда один из 2, то есть или номер 1, или номер 2. То есть что-то должно быть в приоритете. То есть нам нужно сравнить, в каждой коробочке есть цифры по каждой ценности. И мы каждый раз смотрим, какая для нас приоритетнее. И как можно больше мы смотрим, сколько раз мы выбрали одну из ценностей, как можно больше раз. И эта ценность будет для нас приоритетной. То есть каждый раз, в каждой коробочке, еще раз объясняем, сравниваем циферки, и цифры, которые чаще всего встречаются, мы выписываем сюда. И тогда это будет по критериям. Первые, более всего встречаемые циферки, которые мы выставляли здесь, это будут основные наши ценности.
Спасибо. Thank you. So, we will leave you to continue this for those of you that are working on it, and you can do it at lunch. And then throughout the day, feel free to come and ask me or Javier any questions so that we can continue the rest of the master class. Does that sound good? Is that good? Is okay? Пожалуйста? Is that right? Okay. So you'll complete the grid. You'll add the number of times. You'll come out with an understanding of what your top 3 core values are, and you'll write some ideas of how you're living those in work and at home. And the idea is, how can I live my values at work? Because the science of happiness and positive psychology, as well as behavioral scientists, as well as authors who study the impact of values on high-performing teams, find that people who are able to live their values at work perform 3 or 4 times higher than the average person. So, we've established that Tony created a values-based culture in order to have this concept of wow customer service come alive. And wow customer service being something that every single person in the organization is aligned with, not just the customer service team. Everybody has to embody this because culture is not the business of the human resources group only. Culture and core values and customer service is everyone's business. And it's what creates the sustainability. That's how you increase your customer loyalty. And the important thing is that it creates sustainable growth. 75% of repeat business. $2 billion in 11 years. So you're asking probably by now, well, how do we do this? So let's talk about some of the top values and ways to create customer loyalty at Zappos. Number one, commitment to values. And we separate this because it's very important. Commitment is from the top down, everyone. It's not enough to say the customer loyalty people need to be committed, but management and the CEOs and the executives don't need to be committed. Everyone must be committed. It's important to find the right people, operate and lead from values, drive alignment, using the values and the higher purpose as the focus, and create wow. Create a brand and an exciting experience for the customer. So we'll start out with this. The commitment to values starts with your human resources cycle. That means you hire, train, develop, retain, and fire based on values. You also manage and make decisions from that. So not only are 75% of the purchases from returning customers, you can see the year-to-year growth in the background. But returning customers tend to order more. So they might start out with a small purchase. Next time they will buy more. They'll spend more money. Next time they'll spend more money. Also, returning customers have a great experience. They tend to come back also more. So people who buy once and don't have a great experience, it's one purchase and they're gone. But when they have a great experience, they might buy 2 or 3 times a year. It's great to be in good company. It's great to be a great company. And maybe one day one of your companies can be on this list and you'll be up here talking about your story and your experience with your customers. Enter from Russia is going to be speaking later today, and they have an amazing company with incredible core values and great wow customer service. We also know Southwest Airlines and Starbucks and many other companies. The ones in bold are companies that are not American. They're European, Asian, because many people ask us and they say, oh, well, is it possible for every country to have great customer service? Absolutely. This is not about creating a culture like Zappos. This is about finding your own way to wow your own customers. Right people. Why do you want the right people? Because the right people give you the right results. At Zappos, they interview for both technical and culture fit, meaning the interview is based on 2 things. The skills, you must have the skills, like the company must have the profits, but also they ask questions like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how lucky do you think you are? They ask questions like, if you were on a desert island, what 3 songs or movies would you want to have with you? They ask very innovative questions because they want to understand the person's personality and they want to see if they're a good fit. So from the beginning, from the hiring process, another thing about Zappos is that when they first started, they had a great culture, but they had not established their core values yet. So in about 2005, Tony got serious about core values, and he created the core values through that 10-step process we looked at. And they had to go back and they had to reevaluate if all the employees were in fact aligned with the core values. And they did have to fire about 18% of the employees. They had to remove them. They gave them a good severance package. It was difficult, but they had to make decisions based on core values because they had made that commitment. Another thing is people go on the Zappos tour so that employees who are thinking about joining can take a look at the culture and see, because it's not for everyone. You know, I have 2 sons. I have one son who would love to work at Zappos. He would go there, he'd be wearing the big funny glasses and the big wigs and blowing balloons and having a great time. But I have another son who's a very engineering-minded guy, he's very serious. It would not be the right place for him. So if you make it through the interview process, you go on the tour, and you have an opportunity to decide if you want to join or not. Another thing they do is called the quitting bonus. A lot of people ask us questions about this, and basically it is true. They do offer what they call a quitting bonus. Once you get into training, every week they offer you $1,000 to quit the training if you feel like the place is not for you. The trick about this is they offer the quitting bonus one day before the test, and every week there's an additional test in the training cycle. So basically, they hire slowly, they take their time, they fire quickly. They also do some things that are very creative. They have every employee that comes in for an interview picked up by a bus, and then they ask the bus driver, how did that employee treat you? Because they want to know, how are these people inside and outside the office? So why operate and lead from values? Well, for one, they're a better foundation for decision making. How many people here have worked in an organization where you have one manager that says one thing, another manager that says another thing, and you're never sure what to do? How many people have worked in an environment like that? That's right. It's very difficult. But when you have a foundation for decision making, it's good for everybody. Because here's the thing, people join great companies and they leave bad managers. So, a big tip from Zappos, focus on your managers. They also do something in many companies, and it's just an idea. Again, these are all ideas. Take what works for you and discard the rest. They have this idea of building managers, what we call from the bottom up, meaning mid-level managers and high-level managers are not brought in from the outside. They would rather develop people inside the company and then move them up and promote them. They also encourage continuous feedback. There is a book out by Barbara Fredrickson on positivity. And they find that continuous feedback allows you to give positive feedback more often than you give negative feedback. Because if people only hear from a manager for a negative feedback, then they start to not want to communicate. They start to feel like, oh, I don't want to see you again. Every time I see you, you have something bad to say. So they encourage continuous feedback so that there's open communication. So that every time I see you, you don't think, oh, here we go again. It's negative. So there's a positive feedback loop. And they find that anywhere from 3-to-1 positive to negative feedbacks to 6-to-1 positive to negative feedbacks creates a very healthy environment. The most important thing also on this slide is to encourage people to make decisions and to create empowerment and trust. So there we have the grumpy manager, the one that nobody wants to hear from. Alignment. This is the key to the fast and consistent growth. So in addition to this personal values exercise that you saw, once they take that, the managers will work with the employee on a regular basis to make sure that the employees are aligning their personal values with the company values. They also will put people together in teams that have similar interests. So they're what we call they're cultivating a great environment from the beginning. They're also creating a place where people can turn their performance into passion. Because when people wake up in the morning and they're passionate about going to work, they tend to drive stronger results. So the training and development at Zappos is both on the skills, professional development, and on the personal side, personal development. They also create clubs and opportunities for connectedness. If you take any notes at all today, this is the section you probably want to take some notes on. And it's the 3 keys to a wow experience. Again, adapt this to your business and to your environment. But here's some things that hold true for everyone. Number 1, you never have a second chance to make a first impression. You never have a second chance to make a first impression. So what do customers feel at first sight when they see your website or your Facebook page or your storefront or the box you send them in the mail? What do customers feel at first sight? Second, what do customers experience? The first one is about how you first get them to you. The second one is about how you keep them. How do you keep them coming back? Because people will forget what you said and they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And the third thing is, what is your company doing internally to be authentic? To truly live this idea of wow customer service. Do you treat each other in your organization with trust, with respect, with wowness? And wow, of course, is a word that Zappos uses, but you can have your own word that resonates for you and your team. So, again, on this one, how many people's businesses here rely on a website? Quite a few. How many of you rely on a storefront? How many of you don't market your business at all? All right. Well, one thing I saw today, I flew in yesterday, and one thing I was very impressed by when I came in from the airport to the hotel was the number of storefronts that I saw and retail stores with very interesting banners and very colorful, and I saw some great car dealerships. The design was really beautiful. And driving or riding in the car coming in, I could look at the stores and say, oh, there's a store I'd want to go into. There's a store I really wouldn't want to go into. So sometimes you have to put yourself in what we call fresh shoes and look at your business from an outsider's perspective. This is really important. How are you building trust with your customer? This is all about their experience. It's about being human. You know, in the last 100 years, we kind of took the human touch out of business. There was the Industrial Revolution, we had world wars, there was a focus on productivity, performance, and now we have this resurgence or this growth coming from being more human, creating a passionate experience, believing in what we're doing, smiling at people, thanking them, asking them to come back, seeing what their life is like. These are things that people didn't used to do. Surprise and delight your customers. At Zappos, they send flowers. They write cards, personal cards, when you call in. Many hotels, when you go check in, they'll send you a little gift. At Zappos, they offer free upgrades and returns. What are some small things that you can do to create a deep connection, what we call a PEC? This is a personal emotional connection. Here's a couple of things about the CLT group at Zappos around PECs. Number one, they do not have any standard call times. They can be on the phone or on the chat as long as they want. If they're creating a personal emotional connection, they'll get graded a high mark for that, regardless of how much time they took. Number two, they do not use a script. No script. Scripts are not human. Scripts are for machines. Scripts are good for training. But then after that, allowing people to bring their personality in. Again, why? Because it's what I experience when I talk to you or come to your store that brings me back, not your script. Many people can offer the same products and the same services, but it's all about how you do it. Another thing that's very different, when we talked about right people in self-managed teams, is that they actually ask the CLT members on a regular basis, what are you doing? And so they allow people to come up with new ideas. Ask your employees to come up with ideas, and then maybe have a contest. They'll have a contest to see who has come up with the most creative way to create a PEC, a personal emotional connection. Another thing that they'll do is that they'll share stories. So if Olga does something great from a personal emotional connection perspective, we'll share the story with the whole company. Because stories is how people learn. Words don't teach. It's surprising that I'm using so many of them. But it's stories, really, that teach and share your culture. So again, personal emotional connections. How many opportunities in the day, the week, the month, do you and your company have to create that? So we talked about WOWs and PECs. We talked about CLT. Be creative. Put some metrics around your stories and around your PECs to really measure and see how they're working, because you will be amazed. Try to be unexpected. Create an element of surprise for your customers, even for your employees. And be free to choose. Allow your teams to create their own ideas. So here we're going to talk about being human in a virtual world. These apply specifically to Zappos, so when you get the copy of the slides, you can take a look at that. But one of them that they use is they say, make it icy. Involve everyone. So here's a story. At Zappos, less than half of the company work in CLT, which is the customer service teams. Is that true of most of your companies as well? Less than half of the people work in that department, right? How many people do you think actually have to work in the customer service department during high season? What percentage of the company do you think? 50, 60%? 70%? More? That's right, 100%. Every single person who comes into Zappos has to go through customer service training and has to go work and sit next to a customer service person, even if you are the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Controller of Accounting, Chief Information Officer, Chief Technology Officer. Regardless of your position, how high up it is, you have to spend some time during the holiday season working with the customer service team. The reason for that is it creates a synergy in the organization and a focus on WOW customer service. It also creates appreciation for each other's jobs. Do we have any questions so far? Javier, we have a question right here. He has a microphone. He has a microphone, if you could use that.
Maybe a very simple question. Can you name some metrics on customer happiness that you use? You said that it is very important to measure it, but what are the metrics?
Okay. Great. So they use a form. The way they measure their customer service reps is they use a form that checks and says how they started the call, what they asked, if they established a personal emotional connection or not. And they have a form that asks a lot of behavioral questions, not the length of the call. They will ask if the issue was resolved and how they resolved it and those questions. But they go in and they check. And they check for how many times in that call or chat. So they run an analysis report on calls. And they check how many times a PEC or personal emotional connection was established, so that they can measure over time, if you have more PECs, do you get more sales or not? So yeah, they have a form. We have another question.
Could you tell more about orientation process in your company? When new employee comes, what training do you provide, or what tests, and so on?
Okay, great question, thank you. And I'm sure Alexander in the back is doing all the translations for us on the questions. Thank you, Alexander. Okay, so I'm going to respond to that question with regards to CLT, the Customer Loyalty Team specifically. They have 4 weeks of training before they go into an area called the incubator. In the 4 weeks of training, I would say about 50% of that is skills-based. Everybody understands what that means, right? That's the actual job skills. The other 50% is on the values. So they'll do the personal values test. They'll do some team values work. They will study each value. They will learn and add their own ideas as to how they will create behaviors and actions for every single one of the values. Then they'll have some simulations. They'll go through an incubator for another month where they'll have simulation calls.
And while that first month, they do not work at all, right?
It's just training. Well, it's training. They get paid for training, but it's not on the floor now. They're not on the phones yet. Yeah. So they're in training classes. And then after that, they go into the incubator area. So that's sort of a simulation area. And they'll do that for another month. And on simulation, they'll get real calls, but they'll have someone else that's been there longer. They're answering the call, and they'll sit next to them. And then slowly they'll let the new person answer more and more. And what they do is they use that form that I mentioned, and they are checking if their responses and the way that they're working with the customer is aligned with the values, and if they're creating personal emotional connections. Once those 2 months are complete, and if they're successful, then they'll move out and they'll be on their own. And once they're on their own, the big difference is that they are free to make a lot of decisions on their own.
Do you have someone to supervise them after that 2 months?
Yes. So they do have supervisors. The supervisors will check what they're doing, and we talked about the continuous communication. They will communicate with them on a weekly basis. They'll go through their reports with them. But they'll also check in with them on a daily basis and see how they're doing, just to let them know, you're doing great, here's what you're doing right. So they do have several levels of supervision, yes.
Okay, so after 2 months of that incubator or just orientation first month, they are fully paid? And
they're fully paid from day one, even while they're in training and in incubation.
The whole salary?
Whole salary.
You don't differ first, second, and after that?
Yeah, and that's fine. So the difference is that they will get paid a whole salary, but they will not be full employees with benefits until after 3 months.
Okay. And what about cross department orientation? I
Yes.
mean, with financial, accountant, and so on.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. It's a very important question. So at Zappos, they do something called cross-department internships. Cross-department internships.
That's what I'm asking about.
So once you've been in the organization for a while, and if you want to grow, this is part of their personal development plan. So we talked earlier, we said they have professional development plans and personal development plans. Part of that includes asking them, what do you want to do next? What are you interested in? For example, someone in customer loyalty may want to become a merchandiser. They may want to learn about merchandising. So they will get to do an internship in merchandising, and that internship is usually about 2 weeks, so they can learn about it. And the other people in the merchandising group can see if that person has the potential to be a good fit. And then they do development from there.
I get there. I mean, obligatory internships. Do you have that?
Nothing is obligatory there. It's
So
not.
if the person doesn't want to
They don't have to.
see it. Okay.
So moving up in management is not an obligation there. It's a desire. So if you want to move up in management, so you want to intern with a manager, and you want to move up in your department from manager to director on up, you get to choose that. Of course, you have to show the propensity for it, but they don't force anyone into a position. Same with the internship.
Great, thanks.
Thank you for those excellent questions. Anyone else have some excellent questions?
Yeah, hi. I'm here.
There you are.
I have a question about company values. Let's imagine that my company wants to enter a new market or a new country, and there are a lot of companies with the same or very similar values, company values. What is better? Try to find another value or try to be better in these values?
Thank you. Well, our belief is that you do not change your values for any conditions. Our belief is that your values are what make your company and your brand strong. And therefore, learning how to align the values and to make decisions for the new country or the new market or the new product line or the new solution while being true to your values that are already established. Now, with that said, sometimes when values are new and they haven't been tested for a long time, you might have to refine one or two of those values. Thank you. We have a question over here.
Thank you very much for the great presentation. I just have one question. As for the customer service, as we know, it requires a lot of emotional commitment and the person may get depressed. Do your personnel get depressed and how do you fight it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's an excellent question. That goes back to this diagram that we talked about. We talked about the two fundamental aspects of Zappos are the foundation of values, happiness frameworks of connectedness, progress, and control, and higher purpose. And we talked about this, the happy me, aligning and extending out to a happy we. So happy me, happy individuals who have awareness. They combine together, they create a strong team and a strong company that extends out to your customers and your partners. So what do you do with people in the happy me space who are struggling? At Zappos and at many companies that are best places to work, they offer life coaching. Life coaching helps people with stress. It helps people achieve balance and fulfillment. It helps them with the process of their life. So it's not a therapist, but it is a life coach who helps them through these types of things. They also offer courses around personal development, around how do I find my own happiness? How do I learn to manage my emotions? How do I learn to choose my state of being? How do I learn to uplift my vibration? Do I take classes on meditation or dance or music that help me process? It's another reason why connectedness is the #1 happiness framework at Zappos and at many other companies that are great places to work. This is actually an area that's very near and dear to my heart and to Javier's heart, because we truly believe that unless people support each other in the work environment, because all of us have tough days, everybody faces feelings of loneliness and depression at some point or another. And without connectedness at work, it's difficult to get through that. It's one of the reasons why they have people work very closely in teams, why managers are actually reviewed to see how well they know their employees. And I'll share with you a quick story on how they do that. Today, if Olga is my employee and you're my manager, so you're up here, my manager, and I'm a mid-manager and she's my employee, we have weekly feedback sessions. And on every third session, it's called a skip meeting. The skip meeting means that she's going to meet with you. And you're going to ask her some questions to find out how well I know her. You're going to ask her at the skip meeting if I've connected with her about her life, if I have asked her about her family or her boyfriend, if I've asked her how she's doing and how she's feeling. So very important in establishing deep connectedness at Zappos is this openness and this family relationship. to help with those things. I hope that helped answer your question.
Спасибо большое, Ширин, за прекрасную презентацию.